The Newsline.
I've met Sri Lankan journalists who admire Iran like it's a utopia. So, let's check out today's marvelous update from that apparent Middle Eastern utopia. As we often do, we're quoting directly from Iran International. According to a recent report by the Defending Free Flow of Information organization, at least 95 Iranian journalists and media outlets were subjected to 110 judicial and security actions between January and June 2025. Within that same period, authorities launched 46 new legal cases, underscoring an intensified crackdown on press freedom in Iran. Welcome to Iran, the utopia where press freedom clearly thrives. Who else would you expect to champion press freedom in this utopia, if not the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps themselves? The right to access information and enjoy press freedom is a fundamental human right in any nation. Citizens are entitled to freely access media, be it electronic, print, or social platforms. In a true democracy, the ability to consume and share information, as well as express one's views openly, is not a privilege, it's a basic right. When a state censors its media and restricts the free flow of information, it's not just the press being silenced, it's the people themselves. That's why we consistently highlight that it's not only the Middle East and the wider world that suffer under Iran's so-called theocratic rule, imposed by a handful of mullahs who seize power through violence. The greatest victims are often the Iranians themselves, the rightful heirs of their nation, now trapped under repression. The Defending Free Flow of Information organization has stressed further, stating, the suppression of free information, which had taken on new and complex dimensions since Masoud Pezeshkian's election as president, expanded significantly during this period. The report also highlights indicators of freedom of expression recorded in unprecedented decline. Judicial and security actions against journalists and media outlets increased sharply, and the Islamic Republic escalated cross-border threats against Iranian reporters at an alarming rate. In the past 6 months, courts sentenced 10 of the journalists collectively to 22 years and 3 months in prison, the report added. One of the harshest sentences was given to Iranian-American journalist Reza Valizadeh, imprisoned in Tehran's Great Prison, and sentenced to 10 years and additional penalties by the Tehran Appeals Court. The judiciary's most frequent accusation against journalists was publishing falsehoods to disturb public opinion. Other common charges included slander and defamation, propaganda against the regime, assembly and collusion against national security, removal of hijab, and disclosure of classified documents. The Defending Free Flow of Information organization documented at least 112 violations of journalists' legal rights during the period. These included arbitrary arrests, denial of access to chosen lawyers, prohibition of family visits or phone contact, seizure of personal belongings without court orders, psychological torture, and physical abuse by security personnel. A friendly reminder to our Sri Lankan journalists, if you ever find yourself in Iran, do try not to say anything critical about the regime. After all, if this utopian republic treats its own journalists like enemies of the state, one can only imagine the red carpet treatment reserved for foreign reporters. Some of our Sri Lankan journalists seem convinced that Iran is a shining example when it comes to press freedom. But here's a dose of reality from that so-called model state. Not only has Iran committed countless atrocities against journalists in the past, but those sentenced to death are often buried in unmarked graves, with their assets seized without so much as a court order. Since the Islamic Revolutionary Republic seized power, its history has been soaked in repression. It is infamous for torturing journalists, writers, and activists. The regime tightened its grip even further after the September 2022 protests. And following the recent Israeli strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities, at least 720 people have been arrested, many purely on suspicion. If this report helped you see things clearly, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to People's TV, where truth has no agenda, and facts, megaphone emoji, speak louder than spin.
Subscribe us for more details.